Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to our end of your call. We pre-recorded this because we have a lot of people traveling because of the holidays. So we have a few new members that I will be presenting, and then including myself. So we have the professor and we have Wolfie from the research team kind of doing an outline on that. Then I will take us through some of the operations, the partnerships, the marketing, and we'll do it a chopped and screwed style. So bear with me if the audio's a little bit off. However, we hope you enjoy it, and we wish you a happy holidays. And now off to Tolga.
Hi, everyone. First, let me introduce myself. I go by the name Professor online. I work exclusively on Premia's research team, and I wanted to help provide some updates on some of the simulation work that we were doing for V3. So, first, just kind of to start off, I guess the simple question is why exactly are we doing simulations? So one of the first and major reasons why we're doing it is to test the robustness of V3 implementation. So there's no real precedent to what we're doing. This really hasn't been done yet before in the DeFi ecosystem. It's not to say that it's experimental. A lot of the work that we do is grounded in fundamental DeFi economics and options principles. So there is nothing new here that we are making up, but the way that we are kind of putting things together is sort of new and will be a first for the DeFi ecosystem. One of the tricky things with options is they're very dynamic. And there's a lot of moving parts, and so if you're very familiar with option Greeks, this shouldn't be anything foreign to you. But options can change values for multiple reasons. The spot market can move, volatility can change, just time can pass, and so these are a lot of components that are new to AMM structures, and so. We want to gain insight into how exactly options work under an AMM structure for specific option pools. And by specific option pools, I mean specific expirations and strikes. And so one of the things we're looking to try to find is what are the advantages and disadvantages of trading or being an LP of a specific option. And the things that we're trying to look for are how exactly would someone want to trade a 20 delta option versus, say, a 50 delta option. And so a lot of the simulation is trying to help us identify these trends and concepts that options sort of invoke in the AMM atmosphere and try to understand how can we offset any disadvantages for LPs and or traders so that everyone can trade across the full spectrum of strikes and expirations without any sort of disadvantage. So some of the goals that we want out of this simulation that we're trying to do is obviously we want to identify any kind of edge cases in the protocol. We want to identify and see if there's something that we missed from a conceptual level or theoretical level that is being exposed from a practical standpoint. Also, we want to identify where to incentivize users so that we can create positive feedback loops and so that we can generate higher volumes create incentive for more LPs to come, et cetera, et cetera. And so we have to do this in an intelligent way. We can't just sort of give rewards without an understanding of why we're giving them and what they're needed for. And so the simulation is really helping us to sort of identify what these incentives have to be for specific strikes and expirations to make sure everyone is happy and profitable. So another thing that the simulation sort of feeds into are LP strategies and vaults in particular. And so the simulation is going to help us identify exactly what concepts we need to automate or what concepts we need to provide LPs in terms of aiding in the LPing process that can help minimize arbitrage and maximize expected value when people provide liquidity for these markets. So on the next slide, we'll give you kind of a brief example of some of the metrics and the way we sort of break down the results in the simulation. I wouldn't take, I wouldn't look into these results too much. They are very simulation specific, and we run a lot of simulations. Each simulation is testing specific components, and what we try to do is we try to compare different reports from different runs to understand the differences and the sensitivities of these changes that we're making. But overall, the things that we kind of look at are the breakdown of the P&L. Where exactly is the P&L coming from? How much arbitrage is happening? How much is the LP making or losing due to arbitrage? And what are the biases that have been incorporated through deribit data, which is what we're using as our sort of real-life example data set? What inherent biases already exist within the deribit data, and how does that translate and transpose into the simulation? And so this is an ongoing process for us right now. It's been extremely helpful, and we're hoping that with the finalized results with this, we'll be able to optimize emission schedules, we'll be able to optimize incentives for LPs and takers and stakers alike. And so, the hope is that this is going to help provide a more premeditated and intelligent process in terms of creating a vibrant ecosystem. So with that, I will pass it on to Wolfie to discuss more of the research topics.
Hey everybody. So let's go over the current state of research. So we've completed the testing of our prototype system in Python. And now we're going to be focusing on optimizing the Solidity contracts for minimal gas usage and implementing unit tests to fully cover the Solidity code base. We have finalized the implementation of vaults, and we'll be using the Yearn v2 interface in accordance with the ERC 4626 standard. We are developing and testing vault strategies on historical data, and we're planning to deploy them at the launch of the v3 system, which is exciting. We're also receiving feedback on the v3 white paper and working on a technical deck for market makers, professionals, and protocols. We are encouraging anyone with potential candidates to reach out to us. Our documentation efforts and design are ongoing, and the v3 SDK is ready to be integrated into the contracts once they are finalized. So now to show you a little bit of the documentation. So as you can see, the UI for the documentation for v3 is being designed to be cohesive and easily navigatable. The visuals such as screenshots, diagrams, and charts are being carefully chosen and placed to help illustrate key concepts. And our goal with this is to create a documentation experience that is intuitive and easy for all audiences to move through. So what have we achieved in 2022? So we have been very busy over the past year progressing the protocol. We launched zero liquidity volatility services and have maintained them successfully on multiple chains, including Mainnet, Arbitrum, Optimism, and Phantom, doubling our asset and chain coverage from the beginning of the year. In addition, we launched a successful sell-to-pool / market making LP feature. We also secured the protocol for a second year with no major exploits. Thank you, God. Last but not least, we've designed, implemented, and tested a v3 prototype and simulation suite, creating it from scratch with an emphasis on composability to incentivize volume and liquidity on chain, while also making LPs in the protocol profitable. Now, what are we looking to focus on in 2023? So our team has a number of tasks to complete in order to finalize the v3 system. This includes finalizing our Solidity implementations and ensuring that we have sufficient test coverage. We also need to optimize the protocol and user revenue, focusing on liquidity mining and marketing efforts to maximize total revenue production. In addition, we'll be analyzing historical data in order to plan and implement future Vault implementations. We also plan to improve the volatility service Oracle in terms of decentralization and accuracy, and to implement portfolio margin, our margin v2. Overall, these tests are essential for the successful launch and ongoing development of the v3 system. And as for new products after v3, I can't share anything yet, but there are multiple upcoming product ideas in the pipeline. So all in all, I'm very excited to see the progress we're going to make this year, and I'm very excited to see the release of the v3 system. Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays, and have a good New Year.
On to operations. Look, so 2022, actually these VX Premium volume stats I will go into during the marketing components. I want to give a little touch on team composition. We've been having some discussions about this in various channels in the Discord. But happy to say we're 27 strong now. That's a significant growth since this time last year, where we were about roughly a little less than 15 at this time last year. So we've grown. Now, it's not elementary to build the complex systems that we build. So we've definitely ramped up both so that we can iterate faster, but then also start to reach out into different verticals. So we're happy to say that we're roughly at 27 strong today. That includes 5 in research, 5 in the Web3 architecture team, which is front end QA, 3 in smart contract engineers, 4 in operations and legal, 2 in product design, 3 in community management. You've obviously seen those guys recently. We have had acceptance for quite a while, but now you have Spicy as well as Vapor Steve, and then 5 in marketing and business development. All right, look, you can see that we've been doing more on the partnership side of things. We've been doing more in terms of regular comms and standardized communications, more articles. We're trying to pump out a lot of value add for just the Premium ecosystem, but then also we'll be expanding that into wider governance ideas and the options, State of the Union, if you will, to kind of look at, what are the problems that exist out there? How is Premium trying to solve these? How do other protocols solve these? What kind of makes sense? Just to kind of better inform the users in our space. So something that's been in stealth for probably the last 6 weeks is D-Work bounties. Now, we put up about 5 D-Work bounties at that time. We've handed most of them out. They range from the DeFi Llama adapters which you've seen, to a Dune dashboard, to some of the leaderboard stuff that I've been sharing in the Discord. We have more coming, but overall, the problem that we were trying to solve is that we have the core team focusing on the V3 implementation. However, we have some low-hanging fruit. Can we reach out to different community members to help us with that? Overall, I think it's a great opportunity if you're a community member to come in and help us with your skills. But then the people that have been coming forward, some of them being adamant, Premium users themselves, have been super engaged, super high talent, super quick returns on some of these implementations. So we're going to definitely lean into that in the future. If you guys have any ideas of different bounties or low-hanging fruit, another thing that we have on the short list right now is Token Terminal. But Phil, bring it up in the Discord, bring it up in the forum, which I'll speak about in a second here. Just let us know and we can have a discussion. We can put it out there and see what talent comes to take those bounties. Now, so in terms of governance, right? So we're going to be rolling it out here in the beginning of 2023. The discourse or the forum, traditional to other discourses that you've seen, it's a platform that you can go and have long form discussions on different key issues instead of getting lost in a chat log like Discord. So that is live. We'll share the link on the Twitter right after this call. But the next major step is we've been having different conversations around tokenomics, different conversations around right sizing the team, different conversations around various things. And so I think that those are better placed in the forum. We'll be populating that in the coming weeks with some of those discussions so that everyone can see them, because they've been happening in pockets and different channels, so you might not be aware of them. However, once we roll that out and we get some users on there and having those discussions, starting in 2023, we're going to be inviting 10 different people to submit themselves to being more closely aligned in terms of what the future of the Premia governments will be, right? So we'll be bringing in 10 community members, forming a council, having regular weekly calls. They'll be your representatives directly involved with the team on stuff like, what does on-chain versus off-chain governance look like? What are the steps to roll things out? Now, I've put together a proposal for all that, and we have ideas, but it's not fair if we don't include the community as well. So we'll be doing that. Those 10 lucky people will help us, decide the things I just spoke on. Quorum, frequency. I think that it's probably makes more sense to do like maybe semi-annual elections, but then also around like these election times of continuously, building up on this community idea, this community council idea of also like trying to package a lot of the proposals and what the proposal process looks like. So all that's on the forum. Start the discussions, and then we can start formalizing and ratifying that process. And then you've probably seen some things in us referencing the Blue Descent. Blue Descent is what we're naming the legal entity wrapper for the DAO. All right, you need to have a legal entity to have assets on the balance sheet. One of the tokenomics discussions that we have is, okay, in our initial proposal, there was no tokens that went to the DAO per se that are community controlled to give out for grants or other just ecosystem benefits. So that's how we're doing that. And then in terms of like the charter and what goes into the charter in terms of how, VX Premia is probably going to be the preferred method of voting here. What is the specifics, and then as we build that out, that entity will be launched, and then we can start doing some of those voting proposals, so we don't find ourselves in a situation like some of the other recent news that you've seen where there isn't a legal liability around the DAO. Now, right now, we currently have some protections, but those assets are on the balance sheet of another entity. So when we move over assets to the Blue Descent entity, this is what we're looking to achieve in partnership with the community. And in terms of partnership announcement, got some surprising news for you, or maybe not surprising, depending on how much of a detective you are in the Discord. But we have made a mutual decision between Nox and us to fully integrate. So the Nox Vault products are, they're going to bring a lot of ease of use to our users. There is a lot of benefit in having the Vault products on top of our exchange rails, or our clearinghouse rails, excuse me. And so with the strong quality of skill and just general depth of certain skill sets that we need, we came to the mutual agreement that Nox would come in with us. That brings another Solidity developer, that brings another partnership biz dev member into the team, one that was integral into some of the Lido incentives that we had it's about a few weeks ago. And so happy to announce that. So welcome Caesar and welcome Courtney. They are fully integrated at this point, and that product, the Nox Vault product, is planned to launch in mid-Jan, about Jan 15th. The final round of audits is going to happen on the 5th. Obviously, you saw that the first round of audits was done. We did some optimizations. We did some just general ease of use improvement. So it's a minor audit. It's only going to take maybe a day or so. However, that will be complete, and that's what the front end team is focusing on right now. And once we launch that in Jan 15, they'll be fully integrated to our group and be helping with the V3 rollouts, as well as different vault strategies. Obviously, that's their baby, but they'll be helping out in the full stack. On to partnerships. I'll kind of breeze through these. You've seen clearly the different chains that we've launched this year, the different integrations that we've done, both from the swap, the layer 0 with VX Premia, with some of the promotions that we've done with layer 3. Going into next year, we will be leaning into the layer 0 and socket approaches to kind of abstract out the native chain from the user's purview to make it kind of a seamless experience. We're going to, after PV3, I would most likely kind of pivot into that architecture to reduce the amount of fragmented liquidity that exists within the ecosystem. Going in for next year, we have some discussions already going. Is there, appetite for a wrapper around the VX Premia token to create a sort of convex based model for governance? So some partnerships, potentially speaking around that. Can we do a trading competition in which that perps and options are involved? So I've been discussing around ways that we could potentially do that, especially as V3 launches. We think it'd be really cool to integrate those two things together and be able to portfolio track your ability to hedge across different DeFi protocols. And then, as we discussed, the Nox is folded in, and then Vault Pro is they're going through their audits at the beginning of the year. So we'll have them do a demo for the community at the beginning of the year to kind of show you how their native products will work. Really cool thus far. For marketing, Ksenia put together these slides. Unfortunately, she's also traveling, so I'll go through some of the campaigns and value add that she's brought in to us in 2022. Look, as you can see with our approach to marketing, it's much more structured, it's much more targeted. We're able to ramp up just with more manpower to proactively partner with different protocols, different quests, different incentives. And so, she's clearly defined the goals for us in terms of what KPIs we want to reach, how we're reaching those people, what is the impressions that we're getting on socials versus what are the amount of returning users, increasing the brand awareness, increasing the knowledge base, increasing, community involvement, and how that all goes into, how that all goes into TVL volume. There's going to be some cool stuff that we're kind of looking at in the future to see how members are participating in governance, but then also in Discord chats. And this will all be opt-in, obviously. And then, matching that up with their trading participation. There's some cool stuff that you can do when you see the full picture of an individual or community member and how they're kind of interacting, if that's something that you're interested in. Obviously, you've seen the targeted articles, and I discussed it briefly beforehand, that we'll be trying to provide more value to the options community, both in governance, but then also the options at large, what the structural problems are, what makes it so complex to build on-chain derivatives, and then how different people are approaching that, how we're approaching that, and then also like a market outlook on, okay, these are the options that are hot right now, these are the options that are not. We'll be starting to do more AMAs, more community calls, just to make sure that we're transparent as we roll out V3. Obviously, we put our head down for the last 6 to 9 months and building that, and now we're kind of ready to share that with the world. We discussed the Arbitrum, the Lido, the Layer 0. We have more in the future that I can that I just kind of gave you a brief glimpse at. But then there are some other ones that are more that are unofficial, and we're still kind of working out what a partnership would look like and how we can benefit each other. Now, in terms of the numbers, 2.1K in active weekly users on Premia, which is leaps and bounds difference from where we were, especially in V1. 400 average daily users that come to our site. We've grown to, I think it might be 19.4K followers on Twitter. So that active involvement, engagement, the regular copy articles, the upcoming newsletters continue to grow out our reach. 13.2K members in the Discord, that continuously builds. In in the crypto space, a lot of people just add their discords and make a folder and then kind of drop them in there, and then every once in a while, maybe a few months, they'll go in and get rid of the ones that they're not actively using, or the ones that, especially you see this with NFT projects, of the ones that have kind of flopped. But we're still gaining members in the Discord. We still have people popping in asking questions. We're increased the support, and I mean mostly in anticipation for V3, where we want to be able to address all the issues as fast as we can. We want to be able to make the user experience as easy as it can be for either a new options trader or an advanced options trader. And then also when there are issues that arise, because we have multiple different developers now, we have multiple different products that are being built out and coded at a time, that whole QA experience and being able to capture any errors immediately, log them as a ticket, and then our communication between the support and community managers and our devs to come to quick resolutions. All right, 10.5 million in TVL, which I'll show you in a second, is actually pretty promising when you look at our competitors from a ETH standpoint, and I'll show you why. And then $236 million in volume, right? That's significant. That's 10x where we were in V1. Can we do 10x again? Maybe, I don't know, but we're hoping so. So an interesting thing that we found, this data is on DeFi Llama, you can look at it yourself, that in terms of ETH price, in terms of raw ETH and not USD value, you see all these are in ETH value. This year we've done relatively well. In terms of ETH, we pretty much held up our TVL throughout the entire year. Obviously, we're super capital efficient. I think that the fact that we are continuous and not epoch-based has kind of played into this. But then also, one of the biggest contributing factors here is that the way that we have created the algorithm, and obviously it's not financial advice, but the intentions behind the way we created the algorithm is that liquidity providers over the long course of time don't lose a significant amount of capital, right? And obviously there's black swans if you were providing liquidity to Luna. That was a sad story. However, as you are an LP, you are able to get back that value. So sometimes you might be on the opposite side of a losing side of risk. Sometimes you might be on the benefiting side of risk. So I think that this TVL chart kind of showcases that our LPs are returning above all of the LPs of other protocols, right? And then obviously the market has played a significant role in that in terms of the USD price. But if you look at an ETH price, you can see that we're actually have been, since mid-year, we've actually been slightly growing in TVL and S terms and not bottoming out. And then some end of year user stats here. So it's been about a month since we instituted VX Premia. We have about 7 million in influence, right? 4.8 million in Premia has been locked up. And so that is an average boost of roughly a year and a quarter or a year and a half, and 626 staking users, right? We have 2,000 token holders. We have 600 staking users, and we think that this will continue to grow, especially as we continue to roll out more features. We continue to roll out more products that charge commissions. And then in terms of liquidity providers, this in the bottom right is actually provided by DeBank, and one of the pools is not on here, but it's about 1,900 in LPs, unique LPs, right? I think that that's a significant number. That's a considering that the amount of volume that we've done with the LPs that we have and the trades that have been constructed. Our average trade size is quite large. Now, what's planned for 2023? Knox mid-Jan. Then we're rolling out V3. Our goal is to have that done by the end of the quarter. Our front end team is focusing on the Knox implementation right now. Our Solidity contract engineers, I'm sure as if you've seen in the Discord GitHub bot, that they continue to build out, and we obviously brought on Courtney, so we can pick up our PMs there a little bit. And that front end team will be moving over to V3 implementation right after that. as the mockups are now complete, right? Just spoke about the community engagement, how we're going to be been doing that, folding them into the governance, but then also trying to create more value in terms of just education, right? You saw some of the mock-ups for the knowledge base. I think that sets a mature protocol apart from others is how good their documentation is. I know personally when I go into a site now, being a heavy user in the DeFi space, I go straight to docs. I hit the docs usually before I hit the app because I can get a good overview of what's going on through the docs first. So leveling that up, continue to do more collaborations, continue to target different user groups that are maybe newer to options, but also that are sophisticated options builders, right? With the implementations of V3 and being fully parameterized and not having to underwrite the entire risk book unless you want to, is something that's there's a large subset of users that's what they're looking for, right? So we've been sharing the V3 research paper with those individuals. We'll be sharing the V3 research paper super soon. I anticipate that'll be out before the Knox release, but we're making we had some refactoring, so we're that if and some optimization, so we'll be putting that in and then releasing that as we're pretty happy with where that is right now. Customer support, right? We want to be, we don't, we're not proud that in the past it had been sometimes 24, 48 hours before we'd be able to reply to you in the Discord. So by upping that response time, especially as we roll out new features, we want to make the ease of use and smoothness of the protocol as pleasant as it can be. Now, on behalf of the whole entire team, I want to thank you for coming today. We want to wish you a happy holidays, travel safe. We're going to do the AMA now in the Discord, but thanks again, and we'll see you in the new year.